What up, DC Gang? It's your boy DreadHawk.
And this girl, Cash.
Back with another video.
Yes.
We got some content for most amazing top 10. Top 10 secrets that people brought from the afterlife. So if you're scared, you might not want to stay in here, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you like the video before you leave though. But for the people that like content like this and crazy, scary stuff, y'all in the right place. Y'all in the right place. So you ready to go ahead and get into this?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
What happens in the afterlife is one of humans' greatest mysteries, and people are trying to constantly find out the answers to what lies beyond our physical realm.
Some of the best people to ask just maybe those who have, I don't know, experienced death themselves only to be brought back to life minutes later. It's kind of insane. Some of these are actually really scary. I feel at comfort dying, but now I'm a bit more afraid of dying. So we don't know. Maybe you'll feel the same.
What's up, Top 10 fam? Welcome back. I am one of your hosts today, Olivia Kozlowski.
And I'm Taylor McWaters, and today we're going to be diving into the top 10 secrets that people brought back from the afterlife. Kicking off the list at number 10, an open field. Coming from a user named Ursa Lee Minor, who at the end of the story reinforces the fact that they're not religious. This isn't a medical versus spiritual debate, this is just their experience, so I figured I'd lead with that, as that's the case for most of these stories. But this user claims to have seen the other side after being admitted to an ICU. They saw this field with trees on both sides, and then water right at the end of it. Like those fields with the electrical lines that run through with no houses, no residents. It's calm, but it's a long clear area surrounded by trees. But in the center there was a very large oak tree, and it had this massive presence, and it told them, the tree told them, that they were not done living yet and should return back to life. But they reminded this figure that they were very sick in real life and that this seemed like a nice place. The forest, they note, felt dark and scary though, those trees on both sides. It felt like a place they didn't want to go, only towards the water. And then they saw a bright light and woke up in the ICU. Again, they don't want a religious debate or anything, that's just their experience. Forest bad, water good. Duly noted.
In our number 9 spot today, we have Fields of Gold. This story comes from a Reddit thread in which the original poster asked the question of what those who had died and been resuscitated remembered seeing. A Reddit user replied to the thread and explained a story that their mom had told them about when her heart stopped during surgery. Their mom thankfully was brought back, and when she recovered enough and woke up from surgery, she later explained that all she remembered was being in a field of flowers. So here I am, hearing that, thinking of the Wizard of Oz, everyone's just skipping down the yellow brick road, but as it turns out, maybe it's absolutely nothing like that. There was one Redditor who commented on this story with a hot take that kind of made me feel a little uneasy about the whole thing. They explained how it makes sense that a field of flowers is traditionally a more calming image, but that it feels odd to them. A little unnerving and empty, totally devoid of any other people. I'm not gonna lie, that does sound quite eerie, but I'm sure for some of you watching this video, that truly sounds like heaven.
Number 8, a life lesson. This next one comes from a user named Harry and Lana. One semester they had a class where this man came in to explain his near-death experience. What a powerful class. Our only guess would be like, you know, people who wrote one poem 10 years ago. You're like, great, I'm gonna fall asleep in this class. This man was kayaking with a friend. He ended up flipping his kayak over, then he got sucked under by the current. His friend had to watch him pass out underwater and get dragged down the river. Just a nightmare of a scene. But during his time unconscious, the man described this dark place almost as if it was a cave, but the walls were soft and velvet-like. At the end of this cave, there was a plethora of colors. He described it as a kaleidoscope, one would say, or a stained glass window. Either way, it was beautiful. But he saw these dark figures passing by on the other side of this glass. Moments after one of the most frightening experiences of his life, he said he felt comfort and peace. He felt like God wanted him to be there, but he also said that you must have to be pretty terrible to go to hell because he himself wasn't the greatest of guys before this accident. His friend caught up to his body, luckily, and he was able to revive him, but now this man feels a stronger connection with everybody, and he's grateful to have had this experience. This user finishes the story saying that they hope this was calming to hear, as other encounters are quite scary. Yeah, it was calming, thank you, and also we're glad that you're alive. Sweet.
In our number 7 spot today,
That's one hell of an experience. Everybody had experience, so they had been in the flower field, or they saw an oak tree. Now the first one reminded me of a movie that I watched. When she saw the big oak tree or something. I can't remember the movie name.
Dang, I gotta.
But it's a movie. It was had like a lot of girls who were dying from a man. I mean, he not dying from a man, but he was killing them or whatever.
Oh no, I ain't seen that.
Yeah, and when they died, would end up in some type of colorful place or whatever like that, and then they had to go to the oak tree, something like that. I can't remember the movie name, but yeah.
Have the gates of hell. Veronica Ulrich Barthel was 22 years old in 1981, and that is when she was struck by lightning while she was driving. I always thought that that was impossible, but turns out everyone just lied to me as a kid. But I'll unpack that later, I guess. When she got struck by lightning, she began having an out-of-body experience. She said she could see herself holding the steering wheel with burned hands, which sounds absolutely terrifying. She then said she went on a journey through a tunnel, which led her to be standing in front of a gate that read, "Welcome to Hell." Yeah, okay, I thought the burned hands were bad, but this might be worse. She then explains that she was brought to a waiting room, which sounds a lot like hell, and that she could see people suffering in torment, and I was like, yeah, we've all been in a waiting room before. We get it. She then said that she met someone who she presumed to be Jesus, but who really knows? Whoever this mystery man was, he sent her back to her body. When she came back into the physical world, apparently all she could do was scream, "I was dead and in hell," over and over and over again.
Number 6, Annabel Beam. At just age 4, Annabel Beam was diagnosed with 2 life-threatening digestive disorders, and by the time she was 8 years old, she was struggling quite a bit. She was sitting in a tree just thinking about life. She was up high, maybe 30 feet up, when all of a sudden the branch that she was sitting on broke and she fell down into a hollow part of the base of the tree. She was stuck there for 6 hours, but during that time, she said that she died and went to heaven. They actually made a movie about this. It came out in 2016 with Jennifer Gardner. It's called Miracles from Heaven. Fun fact, when I worked at a movie theater that year, I actually had to assemble the tree of life in the front lobby. It was a rough morning, a lot of leaves, but you know what? Great film. Go check it out. But the story is wild. It's a real story, and after she fell, she was all of a sudden with Jesus, with J-Lord himself. And Jesus told her that after the firefighters got her out, she won't be sick anymore, and that she has plans to fulfill here on earth. When she did wake up later, she was indeed no longer sick, and her mother wrote the book Miracles from Heaven.
In our number 5 spot today, we have poor Michelangelo. This is another Reddit story that pertains to an experience someone's mom had. The Redditor explained that their mom had a brain aneurysm that was nearly fatal. There was a point where the doctors were telling the Redditor that their mom likely wasn't going to make it, but thankfully by some miracle their mother was able to make a full recovery. She later told the Redditor that after experiencing several hours of pain, she eventually just felt total peace, lightness, and relaxed happiness. This is super nice, which is why I had to include it, but it's actually not what I want to talk about today. The super crazy part about this is that the first words that the Redditor's mother spoke to them when she awoke were, quote, "Isn't it so sad about Michelangelo?" Yes, I was also confused at first, but later in the thread, the Redditor cleared up what she meant. Keep in mind that prior to this terrible incident, their mother never had any interest in art, or Michelangelo for that matter. It turns out, however, that once she awoke, whatever happened or wherever she went, she was given the impression that Michelangelo was essentially treated really terribly and was put under some pretty awful conditions for the 4 years that it took him to paint the Sistine Chapel. The Redditor said that it was so out of character at the time that it was quite concerning, which totally makes sense, but now I'm just wondering if this information is actually true.
Number 4, Stay or Go. Coming from user Zana Vinovovich, this account takes us back to 1986. Her mother was put under for C-section, and at that time they were in Italy and not citizens, so she also chose to not have a sonogram to determine the sex. So she was put under, and then next you know, doctors are performing CPR chest compressions on her. What is happening? Her mother said that while she was out of it, despite what was happening in real time, she felt also at peace. She was calm and in a very comforting place. She didn't hear a voice or see a tree figure or Jesus, but she felt like she could go either way. She could stay or go. She recalled speaking to this presence that she felt, and she explained how she couldn't go because she had 3 girls to take care of. But at this point, she didn't have the 3rd child yet. Interesting. Now cut to 23 years later, she's fine, everybody's fine, but that experience has made an impact on her, of course. So when she told her father about what had happened when she was under, he even said that he himself had a similar experience when he suffered a heart attack.
In our number 3 spot today, we have 45 years. In 1943, Dr. George Ritchie died of pneumonia, but after 9 long minutes, he came back and was sure to tell the tale of what happened while he was gone. He went on to write a book called Return from Tomorrow and My Life After Dying. He recounts a lot of stuff in this book, from an out-of-body experience to meeting people, but the last thing he remembered was meeting someone who he calls God, although it might have been Jesus, or neither. Either way, whoever he met left him with a mental message that told him, quote, "It is left to humanity which direction they shall choose. I came to this planet to show you through the life I led how to love. Without our Father, you can do nothing. Neither could I. I showed you this. You have 45 years. When he came back to his body, he explained that his throat was on fire and that he felt weight on his chest that was crushing to him. I'm not exactly sure what this message was supposed to mean. I mean, mostly the whole 45 years thing. Dr. Ritchie passed away in 2007, which was almost 64 years after his near-death experience, but whatever this message was intended to mean, that was probably the coolest and most terrifying experience in the whole world.
Number 2, a long nap. These encounters have a similar comforting theme almost, that in the end, one way or another, there's a good chance whatever you believe in, whatever lies beyond, is peaceful. This next one gave me comfort, and it comes from a user named Apple Pasta, also great name. They recall being in a coma after a car accident, and they were legally dead for around 2 minutes. Everybody kept asking them what it was like afterwards, which also don't do that, it's pretty rude. Wait till they're ready to talk about it. And their response was always the same. It was the exact same as sleeping. They don't have much memory of it, but the coma as a whole, they remember this time where everything felt slow and everything was foggy around them. They also felt like their memory of the event is slowly starting to change over time. Maybe they're convincing themselves what they thought happened, but one thing that they're sure of is the feeling that they had, and that the experience has made them unafraid of death, and at the end of the day, dying is just like a long nap. And man, do I love a long nap. I love that last line, man, do I love a long nap, because we do too. Thank you for sharing, Apple Pasta. Sorry about your accident, and we're glad you're okay.
In our number 1 spot today, we have Serenity. This story comes from Reddit, and I thought it might be a good note to end off on because although it is a little eerie, there's something comforting about it as well. The Redditor explained that their grandma was a nurse for her whole life and that during her time she had only ever seen 2 people be resuscitated. One of them was a teenage boy and the other was years and years later, and it was a middle-aged, tough as nails, biker type guy. Neither of them were particularly religious or had any kind of spiritual affiliation, but what was striking to her was that both of them had the same reaction to being brought back, and that was how they both said something along the lines of, "Why'd they do that? I was so peaceful." See what I mean? A little eerie, but also oddly comforting. Aside from that woman who went to the gates of hell, a lot of people I've talked about today have had fairly calming experiences wherever they went during their near-death experience, and I think that that's something that can make us all feel a little bit better about what sits beyond us in the unknown. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thank you so much for checking it out. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video today, and don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more. I've been your host.
Wow.
Yeah. They make it feel like, okay, now I kind of know, but you still really don't know.
Yeah. Some people say they feel like they're just sleeping. Some people be in flowers.
Peace. Yeah.
Huh?
Like the lady, she said that the tree told her to go back. It's not your time yet. Just go.
The other man told him what 45 years he lived to be
64, 60-something. Yeah.
And then the other one was peaceful, and they brought him back. He was mad, like, man, you brought me back to hell.
Right.
Basically, you brought me back to this. I was peaceful. Wow. Interesting stories, gang. Top 10 secrets that people brought from the afterlife. Our most amazing top 10. Like this video, gang. Let us know how y'all feel. If y'all ever had any experiences, put down in the comment section.
Or anybody that you know.
Yeah. Because we want to hear from you. We meet y'all down in the comment section. If y'all don't know yet, this your boy DreadHawk.
And this your girl Kid.
Catch y'all next one.
Catch y'all next one.